Mexicans, I think they're carrying the whole union, and they're really mad because their balance of trade surplus supports the whole union, because everybody else except Holland has a minus. And, of course, countries like Spain, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, you know, they have hopeless cases as well. I think the bottom line is that they import too much rather than not exporting enough. But anyway, my comment is, if I was with her, I would have made the same stoic look as she did.
Yeah, a priceless look, that's for sure. This one is Beth. Can you talk a little bit about the basket of currencies? Let me see what the question is.
Now, let's see. You want to talk about the USDX?
USDX.
Yeah, that's a weighted...
Yeah, he says, I want to ask you, what is the number you use for the USD prices these days? The number is slightly above 70, has been following a downtrend for a few weeks. For example, is it related to the euro or the yen or a basket of currency?
Basket. And that is the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, the Swedish krona, the Swiss franc, the pound. I don't know what, the euro. The euro is about 56%. It's weighted. I have the numbers here, but I have to go pull them out. They're in a pile of paper here. But my wonderful filing system. But I know which pile they're in. And so they match those three currencies versus the dollar, and that's where you get that index from.
You stated earlier this month in your IF that the 4-week flood of money into developing nation stock funds is the strongest sell sign since October 2007. Does the news today from the IMF that China and Russia may invest up to $60 billion in IMF funds change your opinion on emerging markets?
Not really. $60 billion isn't a lot of money, and you know the U.S. just gave them $100. They're looking for $500 billion plus the money that they get from the Chinese for buying 404 tons of gold. And so they'll be pretty well healed once that happens. China is very happy to buy all that gold if they can get it. They want to get rid of those dollars. And, of course, in the case of the United States, it's just a bookkeeping entry and credit for the IMF that gets transferred to it. The whole thing is crazy. That's why I wouldn't have my, assets in anything but gold and silver.
This is from Omar. In the 30s, the government was able to do an instant devaluation of the dollar by repricing gold to $35. They were able to do that because there was a gold standard, but today if the government wanted to do an instant devaluation of the dollar, how would they do it since we don't have a gold standard?
Well, what will happen is that when they get devalued against other currencies, their purchasing power will fall. But I underline the fact that all currencies are going to fall against gold. So if, we only think in dollar terms because, you live in the United States. But it's no biggie if the Swiss franc, as an example, or the euro appreciate 40% against the dollar when they're only appreciating 3 or 4% against all the other currencies in the world. And so, it's not as big a thing as you think it is, unless it's large. And then countries will try to defend their currencies by trying to make them weaker. But, that's really in the long run not a good thing to do because you get the valuation along with the dollar and your currency's not worth a darn and people don't want to handle it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So you try to keep your currency as strong as you can, even if you're a big exporter, which China and Germany and Switzerland are. And so as far as devaluation is concerned, the Germans and the Europeans, the Swiss and the Europeans, are more interested in what the value of their currency is worth, the yuan and the ruble and the Canadian dollar and the Swedish crown and so on and so forth. The dollar happens to be just one. It's unfortunate. It's a reserve currency. Unfortunate in the fact that it's undergoing devaluation right now by being a lower price versus gold, and in other currencies as well, as you can see. The USDX is generally going down, and that is going to continue until it goes to at least 40, and that'll make European goods more expensive in the United States and U.S. exports more expensive. Well, about that is that the dollar is in a position where it's all lose-lose. So that's only one. You got all those other currencies. I mean, supposing Germany wants to sell equipment to Nigeria, and their currencies against each other have stayed relatively the same. So there's no problem. The problem's only in the dollar, and that's what I'm getting at. I mean, there are other weak currencies, but that one happens to be the main one.
Russia has far checkmated every effort of U.S. to secure supply lines for its military campaign in the Middle East in an effort to force U.S. to accept a supply line which goes through Russian-controlled territory. Any comments?
Supply line for the war?
Military campaign.
Yeah, they use, let me get the pronunciation, Kyrgyzstan? Not Kazakhstan. I think it's called Kyrgyzstan. It's on the border with Russia, and they export supplies from there down to Iraq and Afghanistan.
He has a third statement. He suggests that the beast that rises out of the sea, as stated in Revelation, is the coming empire rising out of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. The SCO members occupy territory from the Arctic to the Indian Ocean and from Kaliningrad to Shanghai. And when they organize militarily, none will be able to make war against them.
Well, I think that's a true statement. That's pretty big periphery, and there's a lot of people there. And so I think that's a good take on that. Whether they'll all get together and do that, I don't know. For those of you who are interested in the stocks, I'll give you the percentages today. Agnico Eagle was down 5.11%. The Goldcorp was down 4.40%. Mindfinders was down 3.67%. And SSRI was down 6.72%. So they had a tough day. They closed near their lows, as did the price of gold and silver.
Speaking, and he has a follow-up question to that, speaking about the SCO, it is said that the U.S. and Israel's intent to war with Iran was thwarted by the SCO, granting Iran a place at the SCO in 2005, and Iran's president has attended every SCO meeting since then. On June 15th and 16th, the SCO will hold its 9th annual Heads of State Summit in Yekaterinburg, Russia.
that is a very large city. I think it's around probably 1,000 miles southeast of Moscow. It used to be and probably still is a very important city, and that's where they're having their meeting. The Russians are very bright people, and Medvedev is a good representative, as was Mr. Putin. Wars come and wars go, and the KGB isn't the enemy anymore because he doesn't belong to it, Putin, that is. But I think that